Your nails are telling you something very important, and you're not listening. A change in color, thickening, and brittle edges aren't the beginning of the disease. They're its final stage. The fungus you see on your nail has been living in your body for months, even years, before it manifested itself. According to the World Health Organization, over 1 billion people worldwide struggle with fungal infections, and most of them don't know that the problem begins in their gut. Yes, in their gut. And this is something your doctor doesn't have time to tell you about during your appointment, but I'm going to tell you today, and it will change your approach to this problem forever. Good morning, my dear viewers. My name is Andrzej Majewski. You're on a channel dedicated to healthy lifestyles. Today we'll talk about the real origins of nail fungus, and why no ointment or polish will cure it until you address what's happening inside your body. And at the end of this episode, I'll show you a simple home remedy, a bath, and a mixture that costs literally pennies, but can do more than expensive medications from the pharmacy. But first, you need to understand one thing. Nail fungus isn't a nail disease. It's a warning signal. Think of it like a warning light in a car. When the red light comes on, you don't duct tape it over, right? You're looking for the cause under the hood. With fungus, it's exactly the same. Under the hood, something is happening in your body that has weakened its defenses enough for the fungus to take hold. And what is that defense? Your immunity. 70% of your immune system is located in your gut. 70% of it is where the fight against fungi, bacteria, and viruses takes place every day. When your gut is healthy, fungus has no chance of penetrating your nails. But when your gut flora is disrupted, and I'll tell you in a moment what destroys it most quickly, your body loses its protective shield, and a silent invasion begins, the effects of which you won't see for months. There's another organ no one talks about in the context of fungal infections, and it's the real key to solving this problem, but more on that in a moment. If you like what I'm saying, subscribe and click the bell so you don't miss anything important. Every episode on this channel is packed with knowledge that can save you money and your health. I told you there's one organ no one talks about in the context of fungal infections. It's the liver. Yes, your liver. And now I'm going to tell you something that will surprise many of you. The liver performs over 500 functions in the body. One of the most important is filtering toxins produced by fungi living in your body. Because fungi aren't just a white coating on your fingernail. Fungi are living organisms that eat, reproduce, and excrete waste. This waste is toxins, mycotoxins, and guess who has to neutralize them? The liver. When the liver is overloaded, and in most people over 60 it is overloaded because it has been processing medications, alcohol, preservatives, and sugar for decades, it can't cope with the additional load. Mycotoxins begin to circulate in the blood, the body weakens, immunity drops even further, and a vicious cycle develops. The fungus produces toxins, the liver can't keep up, the immune system collapses, the fungus continues to grow, and so on. Therefore, applying antifungal nail polish to your nail is like wiping water off the floor while the tap is running. You can wipe all day, and the water will continue to run. You have to turn off the tap, and the tap, in this case, is what's happening inside, in the intestines and liver. And now, I'll tell you about the first mistake most people with fungal infections make. It's the mistake of eating breakfast, a daily breakfast that seems healthy, but in reality, it feeds the fungus better than any candy. I'll tell you exactly which product I'm talking about in a moment, but first, let's get back to the gut, because I promised you what destroys gut flora the fastest. Well, scientists have proven that 3 things destroy gut microflora more effectively than anything else. First, antibiotics. One course of antibiotics kills up to 90% of the bacteria in the gut. Not just the bad ones, but also the good ones, which keep fungi at bay. Secondly, too much sugar in your diet. Sugar is the #1 food source for Candida fungi, which live in everyone's intestines. Thirdly, and this one is the most insidious, is chronic stress. Stress raises cortisol levels, and cortisol literally shuts down part of your immune system. It's as if you open the door to your house and put up a sign saying, "You're welcome." Now, listen carefully. If you've been taking antibiotics in recent years, eat a lot of bread, pasta, and sweets, and live a stressful life, your gut is the perfect environment for fungi. And that nail fungus is just the tip of the iceberg. What's happening inside is much more serious, and that's why I'm about to show you how to reverse it, starting with a simple kitchen change that costs next to nothing. I promised to tell you about a breakfast mistake that feeds fungi. Here it is. White bread with jam. Sounds harmless, right? But listen to what happens in your body 30 minutes after such a breakfast. White flour immediately turns into glucose, a simple sugar. Jam adds another dose of sugar. Your blood glucose levels skyrocket, and the Candida fungi in your intestines get a real treat. They literally wait for this moment every morning. And here's the trap that few people notice. After such a breakfast, you feel good for an hour or two, and then fatigue, drowsiness, and sometimes even a slight dizziness set in. This is no coincidence. It's the result of a sudden drop in blood sugar after a sharp rise. And it's another sign that the fungi in your intestines are doing just fine. So, what can you eat for breakfast instead? Something that costs pennies but makes a huge difference? Buckwheat, regular buckwheat from the market, cooked loosely with a teaspoon of butter or with onion, sautéed in a little oil. Buckwheat groats have a low glycemic index, meaning they don't spike your blood sugar. The fungi don't receive nutrients, and you get energy for 34 hours without a drop. Furthermore, buckwheat groats are full of rutin, a substance that strengthens blood vessels. Your legs, where the fungus often begins its journey, experience improved blood flow, and improved blood flow translates to better tissue immunity. But buckwheat groats are just the beginning, because simply changing your breakfast won't be enough if you don't address what's happening in your intestines. And here we come to what I call the unsung hero of the fight against fungal infections. This is a product most of you have in your kitchen, but you don't realize how powerful a weapon it is. I'm talking about natural sauerkraut, but not the pasteurized dead kind from the store. I'm talking about real, homemade, live sauerkraut. Sauerkraut juice contains billions, literally billions, of natural lactic acid bacteria. These bacteria are soldiers that enter your intestines and begin to clean up. They displace Candida fungi from their perch. They rebuild the intestinal barrier. They restore the balance that antibiotics, sugar, and stress have destroyed. 1 glass of sauerkraut juice a day, in the morning on an empty stomach, does more for your intestines than 50 zloty of probiotics, and it costs practically nothing. Now listen carefully, because this is important. Besides the intestines and liver, there's a third piece of this puzzle, and it determines whether the fungus returns after treatment or goes away for good. This is an element that most doctors completely overlook, and I'll tell you about it in a moment. This third element, which doctors don't talk about, is blood circulation in the legs. Think about it logically. Fungus appears on your toenails 10 times more often than on your hands. Why? Because your feet are the farthest from your heart. Blood has to travel the longest distance to get there. And in this blood flow, immune cells, your soldiers, fighting the fungus. If circulation is poor, soldiers don't make it to the battlefield. The fungus has a free hand. After age 60, circulation in the legs weakens in almost everyone. Vessels lose elasticity. If you sit a lot, and let's be honest, most of us sit too much, blood in the legs practically stagnates, and that's why the fungus chooses toenails. It's not because you're walking on dirty floors, or because you're wearing the wrong shoes. The main reason is poor circulation, which disables local immunity in the feet. And now, I'll give you something specific, an exercise you can do while sitting in a chair, watching TV, that improves circulation in the feet in just a few minutes. Scientists have confirmed that this very movement activates the so-called calf pump, the mechanism that pumps blood back to the heart. The exercise is ridiculously simple. Sit on a chair, feet flat on the floor. Now, raise your heels as high as you can, resting on your toes. Hold for 3 seconds, lower them, and repeat. 20 times in the morning, 20 times in the evening. That's it. 40 movements a day. And the blood in your calves and feet begins to flow completely differently. Free, drug-free, without leaving home. But this exercise is only half the story, because you can pump as much blood as you want. If this blood is thick, full of sugar, and low in nutrients, it won't help your feet fight the fungus anyway. And here we return to the kitchen, because there's one cheap product that thins the blood, improves circulation, and also has strong antifungal properties. It's something that grows in every Polish garden or costs a zloty on the market. I'm talking about garlic, but not about swallowing it whole and waiting for a miracle. Garlic works, but only when you prepare it in one specific way. And this is where most people make a mistake that causes them to lose 90% of its effectiveness. When you take a clove of garlic and immediately throw it into a pot or swallow it, the main healing substance doesn't have time to activate. It needs exactly 15 minutes of contact with air after crushing. Only then does allicin form, the same compound that, according to scientific studies, kills fungi as effectively as some antifungal medications. The recipe is simple. You crush 2 cloves of garlic, leave them on a plate for 15 minutes, then add them to a tablespoon of honey or olive oil, and swallow them daily. It costs maybe 20 groszy a day, and it does a job that pharmacies would like to charge you many times more for. But garlic and exercise alone aren't everything, because there's another factor that can block any treatment, even the best. And it has nothing to do with food or movement. It has to do with something invisible to the naked eye, but something that controls your entire body. I'll tell you about it in a moment, and I guarantee you'll be surprised. The invisible factor that blocks the treatment of fungal infections is sleep. Yes, sleep. And I know what you're thinking. What does sleep have to do with nails? Well, it has everything, and I'll prove it to you. When you sleep, your body goes into repair mode. Between 2 Saln and 4 am, your body produces the highest amounts of growth hormone, a substance that regenerates tissues, including nails and skin. But that's not all. It's precisely during these hours that your immune system is most active. It produces cytokines, proteins that coordinate the attack on fungi, viruses, and bacteria. If you don't sleep during these hours, or sleep lightly, waking up every hour, your body doesn't produce enough of these proteins. Immunity drops by 30% after just 1 night of poor sleep. 30%. Imagine that a third of your soldiers don't go into battle because they didn't receive orders, and the order didn't come because you didn't sleep. Now, connect this with what you already know. Intestines weakened by sugar and antibiotics, a liver overloaded with toxins, circulation in the legs slowed, and on top of that, an immune system suppressed by poor sleep. Are you really surprised that fungus feels right at home in your body? But I don't want to scare you. I want to help you, and now I'll give you a simple way to improve your sleep that doesn't cost a penny. There's a trick used by sleep medicine doctors around the world: foot temperature. It sounds strange, but listen up. Studies have shown that warming your feet before bed dilates the blood vessels in your legs and sends a signal to the brain. Time for bed. Warm feet, faster falling asleep. And there you have it, 2 problems solved in one go. Because a warm foot bath before bed not only helps you fall asleep, but also improves circulation in your feet. Exactly what I mentioned earlier. A bowl of warm, not hot, water is enough. A temperature of about 40 degrees Celsius, 15 minutes before bed. But now I'll tell you something that will turn a regular foot bath into a true healing treatment. Add 3 tablespoons of regular apple cider vinegar to this water, the cheapest kind you can find at the supermarket for just a few zlotys. Apple cider vinegar changes the skin's pH to an acidic level, and fungi hate an acidic environment. They need an alkaline, moist, and warm environment. When you soak your feet in vinegar-infused water for 15 minutes every evening, you create conditions on the skin where fungi can't reproduce. Then, dry your feet thoroughly, especially between your toes, because moisture is fungus's #1 friend. And put on clean cotton socks. This ritual costs pennies, but it works on 3 fronts simultaneously. It improves circulation, makes life harder for fungi, and helps you fall asleep. But there's another thing related to sleep that almost no one does, and it has a direct impact on your immunity and your liver. It has to do with what you eat, or rather, what you don't eat in the last hours before bed. And this is a mistake 9 out of 10 people make. More on that in a moment. I'm talking about eating before bed. Most of you eat dinner at 6 p.m., 7 p.m., and sometimes even 8 p.m., and you're probably thinking, I eat light, so it's not a problem. But the problem isn't what you eat. The problem is when you eat. Because when you go to bed on a full stomach, even if it was just a cheese sandwich, your body has to choose. It either digests food or repairs the body. It can't do both at full capacity. And guess what? Digestion wins. It always digests, and regeneration, tissue repair, and immune protein production all take a back seat. But there's something even worse. When you eat late, instead of working on cleansing your body of toxins, including the mycotoxins I mentioned earlier, your liver has to process dinner. Imagine a cleaning lady coming to the office in the evening to clean, but there are still employees in the office ordering pizza. It's impossible to clean when someone is constantly making a mess. Your liver works exactly the same way at night when you eat too late. So the rule is simple. Eat your last meal at least 3 hours before bed. If you go to bed at 10 p.m., eat no later than 7 p.m. If you go to bed at 9 p.m., eat your last bite at 6 p.m. It's free. You don't need to buy any supplements, just postpone dinner. And if you feel hungry in the evening, have a glass of warm water with a slice of lemon. Lemon also supports the liver and has a slightly deacidifying effect. And now I want to tell you about something that connects everything we've talked about so far. Something I call the fungal cycle. Because fungal infection isn't a disease that comes and goes. It's a cycle, a vicious cycle that continues in your body if you don't break it. It looks like this. Weak intestines don't keep the fungi in check. The fungi grow and produce toxins. The toxins burden the liver. An overloaded liver doesn't cleanse the blood. Dirty blood doesn't nourish the tissues. Poor circulation in the legs doesn't supply immune cells. The fungus attacks the nails. See this chain? One link pulls the next, and that's why no ointment will solve the problem, because the ointment only affects the last link, the effect, not the cause. To break this cycle, you must act on several fronts simultaneously. You already know how to repair your intestines, sauerkraut and groats instead of white bread. You know how to help your liver by not eating before bed. You know how to improve circulation, calf exercises, and vinegar foot baths. You know how to boost your immunity, healthy sleep. These are simple, inexpensive things that together create a powerful force. But there's another link that can completely sabotage this work, and it's something many people do every day, even without realizing that they're feeding the fungus. I'm talking about a certain drink, and no, I'm not talking about alcohol. It's something most of you drink every day, convinced it's healthy. Tell me in the comments what you think it is. I'm curious if you can guess. And I'll tell you in a moment. This drink is fruit juice. Yes, regular juice from the carton that half of you have in your fridge. Orange, apple, mixed fruit, it doesn't matter. Many of you drink it every day because you believe it provides vitamins. And yes, vitamins are there, just a little bit. But you know what? It's mostly sugar. 1 glass of apple juice contains about 5 teaspoons of sugar. 5 teaspoons is almost the same as in a glass of Coke, except you think of cola as poison and juice as health. And therein lies the trap.